Hey everybody, Travis Bowman here. Today I want to show you this really cool 3D printed case designed specifically for the Sega Nomad. So right now I've got it in the case. Let me go ahead and open this guy up and you can see what's inside. So there's my Sega Nomad. We've got 5 cartridge slots over there for your games, with plenty of extra room over here for all sorts of cables and stuff like that. And I've got all this sort of zip tied to keep it nice and tidy. This is a really cool design, and I just love this logo on here. This is not painted, by the way. This is an actual part of that 3D print, and you can see the yellow that goes around the rim of the lid here, and it just sits on there just like this. Everything's nice and snug, and it's a really cool case. So let's talk about where this actually came from. This came from a friend of mine named Billy. Now Billy has a 3D printing setup, and he prints me a lot of really cool retro gaming stuff just like this. This is a great example of that. This is such an oddball thing for a very specific piece of gaming history that maybe not a lot of people have, but the people that do have it probably could appreciate something like this. So let's briefly talk about how this came about. When I got my Sega Nomad a few years ago, it came in this bag. This is a high frequency bag here, and I'm not so sure that it was meant to house a Sega Nomad. In fact, this is the plastic enclosure that we kind of used as a template for this box here. I'm pretty sure this was meant for maybe a Game Gear or something like that, just based on this, but at the same time there are these little cartridge holes in there that would perfectly fit a Genesis cartridge. I'm not really sure, but this up here also looks exactly like the battery holder for the Sega Game Gear. So I don't know, but the point was, this is just a really thin piece of brittle plastic, and you can see that it's kind of coming apart in various areas there. So he was like, well, I've got a 3D printer, let me print you something that can fit inside that bag that's going to be a little sturdier. And that's what he did. This is the initial design right here of that piece, and you can see right there, that's where he had to do 2 separate pieces because his 3D printer just wasn't big enough at the time, and he had to kind of glue it together. And it's totally fine. I mean, it's very sturdy, it's not coming apart, and I still have this inside of that bag if I ever have the need to take the Nomad on the go. But you can see this is kind of like the initial design that he just perfected into this storage case right here. So we take the lid off one more time, and everything in here fits totally snug. I really love that. So if I take the lid and set it aside right there, I can very easily get up in here and grab this Nomad, and there it is. And you can see how it's kind of contoured on that left side for the Nomad to fit in there really nice and snug. And I love the fact that there's some cartridge slots here. I only have one to show you at this time, but you can fit 5 of your cartridge slots in there, and they all will fit just fine. And you've got your AC adapter that fits really nice and flush against the back there. And it's a super nice addition to have your car adapter thrown in there just for giggles there. So I'm really a big fan of this, and it's really nice and sturdy. And I love the fact that this is the Nomad logo front and center there. It's a really nice piece there, and this could be useful for display purposes, but it's also going to keep your Nomad really nice and safe and secure, especially if you're going to be, traveling with it. You could have a carry bag like I showed previously, or if you want something a little more robust, this will probably work for you just fine. So Billy put this together for me, and I'm extremely appreciative. I'm a big fan of the Nomad. That bag was kind of cool But now, I mean, this is just so much better. I'm really a big fan of the way that this turned out. It's so cool. 3D printing has come a long way. He's got a much larger 3D printer now, so this is all one solid 3D printed piece. So he doesn't have to glue anything together. He did all this, and it just fits really nicely, so that's really cool. Now I wanted to show you this as well. This is the same exact thing, but just in a different color. So I really kind of like this too. It's kind of like this purpley greeny type situation here, but in the inside it's 90s purple, man. I really do like that. And you can see it's kind of like this reflective, sometimes it's green, sometimes it's purple situation. Really kind of hard to see on camera. It's definitely a solid green on the outside on this part, but then it gets purple and then turns back into green. I don't know. I think it's really cool. This is the exact same thing. It's just a different color. So that brings me to my next point. If you're looking to get something like this for your Sega Nomad, Billy is more than happy to make it for you. Now these are kind of the two colors that he started with, but if you are interested in doing some sort of custom color, I'm sure he could accommodate you for that. You'll just have to ask him. He's got an Etsy store where he's got a whole bunch of different 3D printed stuff for the Sega Dreamcast. He's got some stuff for guitars, as well as some really oddball stuff like this for the Sega Nomad. I'm really glad to have this, really appreciative of my friend Billy for 3D printing the useful stuff. A lot of guys that are doing 3D printing will just print off little knickknacks and stuff that just look cool or whatnot, but Billy really likes to go the extra mile for the retro gaming stuff, and his main thing is trying to make things that you'll actually use, and this is no exception right here. I will definitely store my Nomad in this case from here on out, and it's extremely easy to use. There's nothing to it. It's just a case, you know. It's pretty self-explanatory, but it looks great. It's going to look great pretty much anywhere on display. So I'm going to go ahead and link Billy's Etsy store. This is where you can find this case as well as a bunch of other retro stuff for all sorts of different consoles, depending on where we are in the future. Billy's always trying to do something different, so if you see this later on, you might find a bunch of stuff on his store. But I really encourage you to check that out, and really appreciate you guys watching this video. Let me know what you guys think about this. Could you see yourself using something like this for your Sega Nomad? I'm really interested to find out in the comments section below. Thanks so much for subscribing, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys at the next video. Bye-bye.